sojourn. She was a little girl from a small city. She was small in size, but had big dreams in her eyes. She was introvert, but very happy in her sweet world. Her life oscillated between her school and her home. It revolved around her parents, her elder brother, her close-knit friends, and her teachers. This was the purpose of life for her. Whenever she heard about big cities, she would often drift to her own world of belief, a world where city meant tall skyline, smart people, and heavy traffic. She would juxtapose this to her own city as a small, serene place where she could enjoy all the true niceties of life. She couldn't comprehend the paradox of cities. It was not her fault. She was just a little girl from a small city. The true turning point came in her life as a secondary school student. One day, when she had accompanied her parents to a bookstall to get a Disney comic for herself, she was instead fascinated by the cover page of a competitive magazine. The cover page carried the picture of an IS topper. The curious side of little she couldn't resist herself and instead threw a volley of questions to all around. Who is she? Why is her picture on the cover page? And finally ended with the prized possession of the same. Little she couldn't comprehend a single word from the magazine, but as if her brain was wired for just two words on the cover page, IS topper. She read it, she reread it, and echoed the word over and over again. Little she was thus introduced to the fascinating world of civil services examination. She soon graduated to her high classes. Whenever in class, her teachers would ask her, what would she like to be when she grows up? Little she would very confidently raise her hand and say, Ma'am, I want to be an IS officer, least knowing the meaning of the word IS. Her curiosity found its fodder one day during her civics classes when she was taught about the powers, functions, and responsibilities of an IS officer. She now became all the more fascinated by these services and was determined to carve a niche for herself. Her parents started grooming her in a way as if one day she indeed is going to be an officer. Early on, she had realized economics was her passion, and to be an IS was her dream. But it was not a small dream. It was indeed a big dream for little she. Everyone instead asked her to take a safe path to career, but she was determined to take that holy dip of CSE, no matter what. She soon passed out of school and entered her college. But this shift was anything but smooth. For anyone who had scored more than 90% in her plus 2 examination, who had qualified in all the medical entrance examination, who had got through all the top-notch colleges of Delhi University, and after studying for 10 days in India's top law college, a thought passed by she. She decided to call her dad. Dad, I'll pass out of this law college, but I will never be a good lawyer. I want to study economics and be an IS. What followed next was dramatic. She was back to her own city. For anyone like her, who was a city topper, who had qualified in all the colleges of the country, she couldn't manage to get admission in any of the college in her own city in first instance. It was her fault. She had not filled up the form for any. But God had a noble plan for her. She finally managed to get admission in one of the best colleges of the city, but only after a gap of 3 months. She was bewildered to see everyone enjoying his or her college life, but she was toiling day in, day out. Someone had told her that if she wants to be an IS officer, she has to be in Delhi. And for that, she needs to compete in certain entrance examinations. She started studying like mad, literally. After all, she was following her first passion, economics, and nothing else mattered to her. She came out with flying colors. She managed to get a university record made in her name. But destiny had a different game plan. In spite of so much of effort, she couldn't get through any of the entrance examinations. She was sad. She was disheartened. The gold medal was of no use. After months of frustration, she suddenly remembered one day that she had also filled up the form for master's course in London School of Economics. In fact, it was her dad who had made her fill up the form and fulfill all the requisite formalities for the same, which she had done half-heartedly, thinking at that point in time that of all the colleges and universities in the world, why would a university of the stature of LSE choose someone from a college of Ranchi University? But wait, life had a different plan. That day, she decided to check her mail. She checked. There indeed was a mail, which was from a month back. The mail read, LSE is pleased to offer you an unconditional admission in MSc Economic History course. Wow, she screamed. She jumped out of her chair. Life is definitely strange. She soon found herself in London. From a small, nondescript city, she was suddenly in the world's topmost cosmopolitan city. She got an opportunity to stay in the university hostel and could have easily sat back and enjoyed the niceties of student life. But then, she was she. She went to attend her first class in LSE in her pink jackets and blue denims and used a long phrase to introduce herself. She introduced herself as someone who has passed out from a college which is at an overnight distance from the East Indian city of Kolkata. She had to use a long phrase in order to convince everyone about her worth. For her batchmate sitting on her right was from Harvard, and that on her left was from Princeton, and she was just from Ranchi University. Everyone considered her an underdog. To top it all, she managed to break her ligaments by falling down the staircase on her very first day. But now, she was convinced, she was determined that she has to regain back her confidence, regain back her self-respect, not for herself, but for her parents, for her small city. In her very first academic paper presentation, which she confidently did in her toilet chappals and a half-bandaged foot, she managed to get standing ovation. Audience included some Nobel laureates as well. The world suddenly flattened up for her as everyone, including her Ivy League colleagues, started craving for her study notes. LSE gave her a completely new perspective for life. She was a nerdy student there as well and managed to get distinction in most of her papers. For anyone with good academic accolade, she managed to get PhD offers from all the top universities of the world. She managed to get dream job offers. For anyone of her age, she was naturally attracted to all of these. But then, that day came when she had to take the decision as to what to do next. She decided to call her parents back in India and seek their counsel. They instead asked her to take the final call, and they will stand by her no matter what. She was confused. She was bewildered. She was not in a position to take any decision. It was then that the same magazine, which she had possessed as a secondary school student, the cover page of which carried the picture of an IS topper, came to her rescue. It brought back the flurry of all emotions, all aspirations. She was now determined to return back to her country. Early next morning, she found herself on a flight back to India. But her mind was filled with mixed emotions. After all, she was the only one from her entire batch to return back to his or her country. But now she was determined. She was determined to return back to her country, to chase her dream, to serve her nation. But things were not going to be easy for her. As soon as she landed in Delhi, she headed straight to old Rajendra Nagar, the epicenter of civil services preparation. Things, however, did not work out the way she had expected them to be, and she instead decided to return back to her own city, the same city from where this journey began. But things were not going to be simple in her own city as well. The London overhang, the determination and desire to carve a niche for herself, the expectation and confidence in the eyes of parents and grandparents, and the oft-used phrase, "यहाँ से पढ़कर कभी कोई नहीं कर पाया है," made her mind dizzy. She was in complete turmoil. But then she decided to brush aside all her apprehensions and do what she is best at doing, chasing her dreams. Her first UPSC results came on May 11, 2011. She was All India ranked 640. Everyone in her family was happy, but she was not. She was sad. She was disheartened. She was stoned. This was the least she had expected from herself. As a punishment, she decided to take up a Nigerian university professorship position and to run away from all of it. It was then that her parents stood by her as foundations for life. They made her believe that she indeed can achieve her dreams. She only needs to get back to her study. Her next prelims was just 20 days away, and it was in a completely new pattern. But now she was determined to give her best and then see what happens. Prelims passed away nicely. She was soon back on her study table, this time ready to give her best, to learn from her mistakes of last attempt. In the process, her health deteriorated badly. She did not care for it. She was unable to eat for months together. She did not care for it. She was on Sattu diet. On her first day of UPSC exam, she was running 100+ degree temperature. She entered the hall, sat on the bench, and thought, it's better to get up and leave. It was then as if Almighty whispered to her, sit and do your work. She then held the pane of the window from her left hand and started writing incessantly for next 3 hours. Names passed away nicely. So did the interview. She was now confident of a rank improvement vis-a-vis her last attempt, least knowing the gala plan God had in store for her. It was May 4, 2012, 1:17 p.m. It was dark in daytime. Dark clouds filled the sky as if some omen was in store. There was no electricity in her home. She decided to check her results. She opened the computer, typed her roll number, 13810. She had thought the inverter would take care of the power shortage. The screen buffered. The result page was about to appear. But wait, the computer switched off. Inverter had given away. She then hurriedly opened her laptop, typed her roll number, 13810. The screen buffered, but the laptop lapsed out. The battery was discharged. Her mind was in jitters. She didn't know what to do next, what to expect next. 1:27 p.m. Little she gets a call from one of her friends in Delhi. This friend was in UPSC, standing right in front of the result board. She informs her that now she is indeed an IAS officer. She is All India rank 8. Little she was silent. She had tears in her eyes. She couldn't understand what had happened. Before she could regain back her senses, she was surrounded by media men from all around. That night, little she closed her eyes and prayed to Almighty. Thank you, God, for bringing me to a destination from where the real journey begins. Give me the courage and confidence to give my best in the service of my nation. This story of little she from a small city is in honor of several such she's from small cities who are and who is chasing her dream amidst all the adversities, taking cue from the kaleidoscope of opportunities that life is throwing at them. Thank you so much.